for you. I I was thinking about today's topic, in which I'm going to do my best to explain what makes progress mapping different, and how I have tried to have this conversation in so many ways for, God, well, almost 2 years now, I suppose. Oftentimes over dinner or in casual conversation where people ask me like, "Oh, so tell me about what you do, tell me about your business," and I try and explain progress mapping. And I usually will say something to the effect of, "Oh, well, I create artwork that helps people visualize and achieve their goals and track their progress," which is true. That is absolutely true. And yet, I find that that is such an insufficient answer. And since the inception of Map Your Progress, so much has happened, and there's been so much more that has come from the original progress maps themselves, which are tools, right? A tool is only as effective as you know how to use it. So, in teaching y'all how to use progress maps as a tool, I have essentially developed a methodology, a an approach, if you will, called progress mapping. That's what I call it. And today I'm going to share with you kind of what that entails, and specifically how that is different from most of what I see out there when it comes to setting goals, making progress. Um, and certainly this time of year in January, there's a lot of talk of resolutions and what it is that we'd like to do and how we'd like to improve our lives. And so I just want to share kind of what I've learned through this whole process and in living this in my own life, and in becoming a progress coach and working with so many of you. Um, Here are kind of the differences and what I think works better than kind of the mainstream that we usually talk about when we talk about goals. So I had said to the tribe when I sent out an email letting you know that this was happening, that I'd come up with at least 9 ways that progress mapping is different. And I have now discovered 10. So I'm just going to take you through them. And if you have any questions or anything, by all means, speak up and we'll get to it. Oh, one thing. I've actually created a guide to go along with this little chat and help you see how you have been approaching your goals in the past, and how by using progress mapping or kind of adapting these different approaches, how things might go differently. Of course, I got sick this week and didn't complete it, but it's already well underway and is it's actually coming together quite nicely. I'm pleased with it. So if you are interested in getting that guide, then just go ahead and comment below, and I will make sure that you get it. Okay? All right. So let's jump in to the 10 things. First of all, big difference when it comes to progress mapping and goals is that I am not just about the kind of what I call tactical, practical of the goal, or the sort of top layer of the goal, meaning that lots of people have goals to save money, to pay off debt, to lose weight, to create new habits, to launch a project, which are all valid and wonderful, right? And what I'm interested in is not just the mechanics of the how do you get from where you are right now to accomplishing that specific goal, but how accomplishing that goal fits into what it is that's really satisfying and meaningful for you. So, in other words, it's not satisfying and meaningful for me to just support you in, paying off a certain amount of money, or losing a certain amount of weight, or becoming a daily meditator, or any number of wonderful things that are common goals. And usually when we get into that conversation, we jump quickly into the how. Okay, well, how? If you're going to pay off debt, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start here, and then you're going to do this. Because if that was truly the most effective way to go about it, you wouldn't really need me, frankly. It would be a matter of just understanding and the instructions of sort of do this. Like, for example, if you want to lose weight, then move more and eat less. Like, okay, great, done, next. Like, it doesn't work that way because we're human beings and we're motivated by different things and we're complex creatures and we have emotions and we have fear and there's a whole lot more to it. So there's no shortage of information out there, be it, on the internet, books, other experts, coaches, wonderful resources for getting the tactical, practical, this is how you accomplish this goal. I'm interested in teaching you how to use the how. So whatever those tools and resources are, those tactics, they're only effective if you're actually able to do them and to use them and to take it into action and create something for yourself in your own life. So what I'm interested in and what progress mapping is about is teaching you and giving you tools and support to be able to take whatever those resources are into your own life and actually use them. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, number 2. Again, this is not just about the intellectual side of it. Oftentimes people will want, kind of tips or recommendations or, tell me what it is that you did. And then, I'll go take that and try that in my own life, which on one level is completely logical and makes sense. And yet there's also the human part of it, like I was just alluding to. And I think what gets in the way more than anything when it comes to us achieving goals or even just pursuing them and going after what it is that matters to us are the emotions, and especially fear and the many, many forms that it takes. And I tend to describe fear, or particularly perceived fear, as being sourced by a part of our brain that I call clever brain. And I call it clever because it's so insidious and able to take many different forms in terms of thoughts and logic that appear in your head that get in the way of you taking action. And they can sound very reasonable and very responsible. Like, well, I really want to start my own business. However, I need to save up a certain amount of money, and I'm a parent, and so I need to prioritize my children. And things like that are very reasonable and sound super adult and rational, right? And it's like, yes, you're a good person. Those are things that you should consider. What I would say to that is that there may well be some elements of your clever brain generating those types of reasonable, rational things. If you are the kind of person who's super responsible and you want to do the right thing, you want to be great in all areas of your life, right? Then your clever brain is going to co-opt your values, your desires, who you are, in the form of thoughts that will not appear to be fear, but actually are based in fear. And it's based in a limited logic that says that you're not able to move forward and pursue whatever it is that's most important to you because you need to have X amount of money or you need to spend this amount of time with your kids. When it comes to setting goals, the emotions, clever brain can get really good about creating false binaries and certain rules that don't even exist except in your own head because they're manufactured by your clever brain, who is not interested in you accomplishing any goals, making any changes, doing anything different. It comes from a primal part of your brain that believes what is known is safe, and anything that is unknown is not safe and not even worth pursuing. So when we don't deal with that aspect of it, oftentimes we can't get very far out the gate because it's not enough to just know what to do and have an instruction list of the how, or even to read a book or any of those things. If we can't actually, I'm going to use this word, synthesize the information and take it and bring it into your own life and then take action. Got to deal with the emotions. Okay. Number 3. This is very unique to progress mapping. I'm all about taking action from love. And I see a lot of things out there around goals and achievement that are rooted in fear and that are based on some sort of premise that you need to do something, you need to achieve this goal because there's something bad that will happen if you don't, or you're somehow less than if you don't. That there's some judgment in terms of who you are as a person or how you are living your life. And so to be okay or to do the right thing, to be accepted by certain people in your life, maybe your family, society, culture, whatever, that you need to be a certain way. And because you need to be that, you need to set certain goals and achieve those goals so that you're going to be okay. All of that, again, is rooted in a perspective of fear and lack and like there's something not right with you, which I definitely experienced for decades, truly, of my life. And I operated from that paradigm. And I put myself into a hospital because I put so much effort into trying to achieve certain things and be a certain way and prove to myself that I was okay as I was. And that was not a sustainable thing. So I drove myself to the point where I couldn't even function and I had a full scale mental emotional breakdown and ended up in an outpatient program in a psychiatric hospital because the way that I was pursuing goals and the way that I was relating to those goals and my own worthiness and my own well-being was completely not sustainable and was almost entirely rooted in fear. So having experienced what it's like to be operating from fear, to be reacting, to be taking action from a place of fear, I know in my bones that it's not a sustainable way to live your life. And I don't promote using fear as a motivator to achieve whatever goal it is that you want to go after. I believe in taking action from love. It is so much more lasting, sustainable, so much more enjoyable, and it's not something that costs you. You know, the fear can take a lot out of us. It can really be depleting. Whereas when we're taking action from love and choosing to do so, choosing love, then it's something that feeds us and makes us feel stronger and more alive. So very much a fan of taking action from love. And that is core to progress mapping and how I teach you to use the maps. All right, so number 4. So many times when I talk to people about goals, and they say, you know, I want to write a novel. Wonderful. It's a wonderful goal. And I say, okay, great. Tell me what it is, you know, that's important to you about writing a novel. Tell me about what's going to happen in your life when you write your novel. And they'll share, you know, the experience that they think that they will have once, you know, they have written their novel, and how they will feel about themselves and what they will be able to do and who this novel will benefit and you know, all these wonderful things. And they'll say things like, I would feel just so proud of myself and accomplished and happy, which is great because obviously those are things that many of us want to feel, right? So what I believe in when it comes to setting goals and then reaching them is that it's not in service of us getting into action and sustaining the actions necessary to accomplish the goal if we are relating to the experience that we want to have, the emotions that we want to feel, like who we get to be and all the good stuff that we really love. If we put that off and have that be at some imaginary finish line in the future that is conditional, that you only get to experience that once you have achieved a particular benchmark or you know met whatever that initial goal is that you set out to. If that's your measure of success and you don't get to feel victorious and you don't get to feel proud of yourself and accomplished and happy until you write your novel, it doesn't go well. It's not motivating at all. And it's not an enjoyable process to do what it takes to sit down and write for a lot of days, probably, to show up again and again and do the work that it takes and the actions and if you are delaying your gratification and you're not giving yourself permission to feel those things until you get to that, mythical finish line. I'm a big believer that whatever it is that you want to feel and those emotions, the experience that you want to have when you reach your goal is the means to getting to your goal. In other words, if your goal is to write a novel, what could you do that would result in you writing and making progress on your novel? What choices could you make? What actions could you take on a daily basis that would have you feel proud and accomplished and happy just by virtue of doing them, just by virtue of taking the action, that you approach writing a novel or any other goal in such a way that you are living and experiencing what it is that you want to feel as you are going? Because then you're not delaying the gratification. Then your victory is not somewhere out in the future where you don't have access to it. It's something that you generate and you choose for yourself, and you choose to create from a place of love, from wanting to feel those feelings, because in feeling those feelings, in being victorious, in being creative, in taking action toward your goal, what happens is that there's an impact on who you are and who you are being. And it spreads out to your behavior, which of course spreads out to the people around you and the people who love you, the people that you come into contact with. You are not isolated, right? So when you are choosing to make progress in a way that is coming from love, that is sustainable, that allows you to feel the way that you want to feel, the natural byproduct is that you feel better and you are able to be better and to serve and contribute other people in your life. And it's this beautiful upward spiral, right? That builds on each other. It's so much more than just, I want to write a novel. It's so much more than the goal. And so my intention, my hope is that in teaching you progress mapping, in introducing you to this different way of making progress and going after the things that you want, that you will look at this in a very different way, and that you will start to experience things that you want to feel now in the process, so that you enjoy it as you go, that all of the parts get to be something that are on some level enjoyable and satisfying. All right, we're going to 5. So another difference about progress mapping from sort of the general narrative around goals is that I think oftentimes we can look to other people who are accomplishing the types of things that we want to accomplish. I was just having this conversation with a client today, actually. He was sharing how he'd been, reading Tony Robbins. He loves Tony Robbins. A lot of people love Tony Robbins, right? And Tony was talking about this concept of modeling, and that if there are people out in the world that are doing what it is that you want to be doing, then look at their behavior and start to model your behavior after them and do the things that they're doing. And completely logical, and it totally makes sense. And that can be a wonderful approach and tool. And yet, what I found is that when we're modeling, or when we're looking at other people who are achieving and accomplishing things that we want to accomplish, and then we're striving to step into where they are and doing whatever it is that they are doing, which likely is going to be, if we're here and they're here and we're trying to model, there's going to be a big disconnect, right? I'll use an example. I am a fan of Tracy Anderson. She is a fitness guru. She's done an incredible job building practically an empire at this point of her own fitness methodology. And, she has these really cool programs. Like there's a 90-day program called Metamorphosis. I began it a few years ago, and it's like a set of 90 workouts, and you do 6 of them a week. And she provides you with a calendar, and you note your progress and write in all things. And so, of course, since I am a naturally a little bit perfectionistic, high achiever kind of person, I begin and say, okay, great. I'm going to take this Metamorphosis program. It's 90 days. I'm going to work out 6 times a week. Cool. So you can probably imagine where this is going. Her workouts are incredibly difficult. I mean, a lot of respect for her. It is no joke. And so to jump into doing workouts at that level 6 days a week for 90 days, oh, it's a metamorphosis for sure, because that's quite a shock to your body, right? And so what would happen is that I would, start in like the first week. I think I may even have made it to 6 workouts a week in that first week. And then something happened, right? Then there might have been a change in my schedule for work, or I got sick, or a friend came into town, or any number of things happened, right? And then that gets me off that schedule, that sort of ideal, that high level path that I have been trying to follow. So I think when we look at those types of models, those types of paths and a structure, and we set out at the beginning often and we say, okay, this is really what I want to do. I'm going to do this, and this at this frequency, at this rate. And we get very like prescriptive and detailed about it, right? And then we begin. And then we're reminded that we're human beings, that we don't work in a linear fashion and things don't go the way that we want them to go all the time. So that's where progress mapping is really about embracing that truth and not being upset about it, not thinking that that's a bad thing, or that in the case of metamorphosis, if I can't do 6 workouts a week for 90 days or whatever, that's somehow a bad thing or failure, or means that I shouldn't even use any of Tracy Anderson's tools. Not what I'm saying. With progress mapping, we look at creating a structure and a tool and an approach that allows you to look at whatever, those models or different, challenges or things that you want to do and take on, and acknowledge that it's not going to go perfectly. And the reason that I call progress maps is that they're a way for you to navigate. It's a way for you, when you get lost, to come back to a visual, to something that grounds you in what it is that you want to do and your next right step to take to be able to move toward that. So that's why with progress maps, they're made up of these small little swirls, and each swirl represents a next right step that you take, some action coming from love that you could conceivably do every single day. And God bless, there may be people out there that can do that. And if it works for you, if you're that kind of person, if you don't break the chain, if you use that method where it just needs to happen in a very specific linear way, if that works for you, wonderful, then go with it. And I think that's awesome. However, I really haven't seen that that's effective for the vast majority of human beings. So when, we can acknowledge that it's not a, perfect process, that there's actually quite a bit of variation. And when we can embrace that and instead just focus on our next right step and kind of course correcting and tweaking and experimenting as we go to find our own rhythm, to find what works best for us, something that is sustainable, I find it much more effective and much more satisfying. So the next one is kind of related to what I was just talking about. This idea that progress is not linear. Going after goals, not linear. And as intelligent as we are as humans, it's we forget this all the time. You may have seen that visual it's been very popular on the internet, where it shows kind of side by side that there's a line and an arrow, this is what we think progress looks like. And then, what it actually is this totally convoluted swirly line that goes up, down, and back and forwards. That's how it goes. It's progress is an adventure. It's a thing that is unfolding. It is not something that you can foresee at the beginning and know exactly how it's going to go. And yet we still try and do that all the time. And so as a progress coach, I encourage you to embrace the fact that this is an adventure. And one of the most important things that you can do is simply show up for it and be there at the beginning. And to the best of your ability, say, this is the thing that I think I want to do. This is why it matters to me. This is what I'm hoping that I'm going to experience when I, reach that particular goal or benchmark. This is how I want to feel. And so I'm going to use the feelings that I want to have, the experience that I want to have, as a way to creatively approach whatever goal it is that I want to achieve and whatever actions need to be taken. I'm going to look at those actions and how they could work for me, not just for somebody else or someone else's prescription of what it means to get from where you are now to where it is that you want to be. But you actually look at bringing that into your life and using it as an experiment and actually trying things and then figuring out as you go what works for you. And I promise you, it's not going to be a linear line. And that's okay. That's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. It's not oh, that sucks. Like, no, this is life. This is humanity. This is what it is. This is the big, glorious mess that it is to be alive and wanting something and wanting to grow and evolve and contribute in a meaningful way. So the next difference, progress mapping, is, again, when we look at goals and we look at other people and how they're achieving them, oftentimes I think our clever brain wants to make comparisons about who we are in our lives and how we're living them and other people's, wanting to compare, like, how are we doing? Are we doing well? Are we better? Are we worse? It seems to be a factory installed human thing that comes from a primal place. So that's not going away anytime soon. And yet, when we can have an awareness about it and notice when we're doing it and creating these logics and these rules for ourselves as we're going after goals that are based on other people's experiences, and watching for clever brain getting in there with this fear-based idea that we need to somehow be a different person. For example, if you are wanting to, say, train for a marathon, and you look up online a particular workout regimen and start, getting out your calendar and planning and think, okay, well, based on the information that I'm seeing, the recommendations is to do this, in the morning, and therefore I need to become a morning person. I'm not a morning person, but I need to be a morning person. I'm not going to be able to get this done unless I'm a morning person. When we start to fixate on specifics like that and the particulars of any one approach that works for somebody else, and think that we need to change or adapt who we are naturally to fit that, it often doesn't go well. And it's really draining and exhausting to try to be someone else, to try to have different tendencies, and to temporarily change who we naturally are. So that is just one example of, you could say that some people are really great in the morning. Other people get their energy midday or in the evenings, or, everybody has a different rhythm, right? So when you're trying to go against your own rhythm, I just can't recommend it. It just gets very difficult. It gets very difficult to start to create momentum around your goals. And Lord knows it's difficult to sustain that over a period. I mean, willpower alone is finite. And there's a wonderful book about willpower by Kelly McGonigal. I recommend it highly. It's called The Willpower Instinct, and she does a brilliant job of explaining how our willpower is finite. It is like a muscle. We only have so much. Okay, there's unfortunately so much information out there that I feel like implies that we just need to like grind it through and stick it out. And I think that can be really harmful. Truly, I don't think that it serves. I don't think that it's going to help you grow or sustain or get what it is that you really want or experience the life that you really want. So, big fan of paying attention to who you are naturally and what works for you in your life, and then working with that and adapting other tools and resources to align with who you are already. Because there's not something wrong with who you are. That is my belief. Okay. So, along those lines, number 8, being in a position that I am now as a progress coach, as a leader of this Map Your Progress tribe, as someone who has volunteered to live my entire life every single day within this whole experiment of progress and doing my very best to live everything that I share with you or any advice that I offer. I assure you it is not just for you. I am saying it out of my mouth to remind myself, because it is my commitment and my practice to practice this stuff on a daily basis. And what I believe is that the best that I can do is to offer my experience and what I have found to be true, and that I don't have all of the answers. No one does, obviously, right? And so I'm not a fan of saying, this is what you should do, and this is what is right for you, and just kind of coming up with general statements and leaving it at that. I really believe as a coach, my job is not to tell you what to do. My job is to support you in figuring out what is right for you. So whether that is, the type of goal that you choose, or how you go about it, or what kind of tools you use, whether you're using progress maps or in combination with other tools, I really believe in honoring your own wisdom and your intuition, your experience, and supporting you and trusting, like, that. Use that, instead of looking for other people to tell you what to do or what's right for you. Really taking this information in and applying your own knowledge and your own experience to say, you know what, like, yes, this makes sense to me. This resonates. I think I'll try that. I think this would work. This would support my natural tendency. And so, yeah, I'm going to give it a go and see if it works for me. And if it works, fantastic. And if it doesn't, okay. Like, what's the next thing to try? What's the next right step? So with all of this information and progress mapping in general, I really believe that it all comes back to you deciding what is right for you and what works for you. That, my job is to support you and really remind you, I suppose, that you are the expert on yourself, and there is nobody on the planet that has access to the level of information about you except you, because you are the only person that is with yourself 24/7, that has been through your entire life with you, that has experienced every single thing that you've gone through, that knows the truth of your human experience, which is kind of a big deal. Okay. So please come back to that. That is my wish for you, is to honor that, honor what works for you, your truth, and what is best for you. All right. Number 9. Again, I am not a fan of just blanket statements and saying, this is the right way and this is what you do, and then go do it. Good luck. The reason that progress maps are kind of, what's the right word? I don't want to say vague, hopefully not vague, but the reason that they are very flexible and adaptable is on purpose. And the intention in not telling you, here's what this swirl means, or if you have this goal, these are the actions that you should take, and this is the way you should do it, and this is how often you should do it. And the reason that I don't get into that is because I know that people are different, and it's not one size fits all. And while I don't say that dismissively to not help you and not be able to give you more specific information, I just believe that it's really, really important to honor your individuality in the approach, in the strategy, in the way that you use these tools, in the actions that you take. One of the ways that I offer some support there is something that I call human light types. And this may sound random, but what I came to understand was that when it comes to goals, the things we go after them because of how we think we're going to feel or what we're going to experience. There's not a point in just keeping yourself busy or burning calories to go after some particular goal. Just, there's meaning, right? And what is satisfying and fulfilling to one person may not at all be to another person. So your definition of success, what is worthwhile for you, what would feel like winning life for you, may look very different from, your spouse or your family member or your best friend or whatever. And that's great. It's actually really good news because that means that there's diversity, and that means that, not all of us are supposed to want the same things. We're supposed to experience success and fulfillment in the same way. That's by design, some grander design that, is much bigger than me. But the diversity is a good thing. And so to support you in that diversity, yet also giving you some tools to kind of narrow things down and figure out what is important to you, I came up with this series of 9 different human light types. This is based on this idea that I have. Our best as humans, we can be sources of light in the world. We can be contributing and providing our creativity and love and wisdom and all the good stuff. And that there are different ways to do that. So why does that relate to goals? What does that have to do with it? This is, again, something that's really foundational to progress mapping, and what makes it different is that in understanding what success looks like for you, and that sense of purpose, the sense of meaning and fulfillment, then we can look at how you approach whatever your goal is and what is worthy of your investment in time based on what is meaningful to you. So when you go to mapyourprogress.com /lights, you will see the 9 different types. And you'll also see a link to take the quiz, which I wanted to create a tool that would allow you to kind of narrow things down. It's 11 questions, and it will give you a recommendation as to, based on your answers, you might be this light type. And then you can go to the page on mapyourprogress.com /lights and take a look and see if your quiz result resonates. Please don't take the quiz result and be like, okay, well, the quiz says that I'm this, so I'm this. No, the quiz is there to introduce you to the concept. The quiz is there to narrow down your choices and give you a particular likelihood that you might be this kind of light. Excuse me. And so when you have a sense of what type of light you are, oh, wow, guys, sorry. I wish that I had some water. Now I have, oh, wait, I do. Stand by. Wow. It is profoundly inconvenient to have an awkward coughing attack when you are trying to have a chat live. Okay. All right. Having a moment. You know how I was saying that things don't go exactly as you think they're going to go, and that making progress is not linear? Example. I'm really okay. Sorry, but little detour. Wow. Okay, so what I was talking about was that when you start to understand what's meaningful for you and what purpose, why are you here on the planet? What is it that you're here to give? Why do any of these goals matter? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Who is it that you want to be? What do you want to have contributed during your life while you're on the planet? That's what the human light types are about. It's a tool to help you start to connect to what that is for you. So one of the things that makes progress mapping very different is valuing that whole perspective and valuing your purpose as it relates to a goal. So it's not just an activity. It's not just something that you do or a place to go, weight to lose, money to save, habits to create, but it's something that is aligned and supportive of what matters to you. as my client today described it, it's like moving the needle. He said, like, I don't want to spend my time doing things that aren't going to move the needle and get me closer to my purpose and what it is that I'm here to do. And I couldn't agree more. I don't want you to just buy maps and go after goals and spend time doing things that don't actually fulfill you. Okay. And I talk about this a lot because I see it a lot. And I see people going through the motions, or I see people looking outside themselves at people who have the kind of life that they want and thinking, okay, I just need to do this. If I do this and then that and then that, then I'll feel the way that I want. So progress mapping is kind of reverse engineering and looking at what it is that you most want, the big picture, what really matters to you, and then kind of walking back from there. And looking at it in a kind of detailed and custom way. So I totally get that for some of you, what I've just described may sound a little bit overwhelming or abstract, or it's like, yeah, but just tell me what to do, or give me a worksheet, or help me break that down. And that is valid, and that's one of the reasons too why I kind of created this guide that I mentioned at the top of the chat, which if you would like that guide, you can just go ahead and comment and tell me in the comments below, and then I'll make sure that you get a copy of it. But understanding what makes progress mapping different and kind of the bigger picture, I think, is helpful for you in determining, is this something that makes sense to you? Does this resonate? Is this something that you'd like to experiment with? And I, of course, am here to help you do that. Because the 10th thing that makes progress mapping different is that this is not, just about like a short-term thing. It's not about sprinting to get to, point A, point B. Now my nose is running, you guys. I'm having a moment. Good Lord. Okay, I don't have tissue. Sorry. I'm going to be snotty with you guys. Hopefully that's not like reflecting off camera. Oh, well. Okay, so it's not about the sprint. It's not about the short term. It's not about checking off a list. It's not even about coloring in the swirls and saying, look, I did it. I did the thing. Because what I think happens is that when we get into that mentality, and frankly, it's promoted so much in our culture from the time we're small children, and with the best of intentions, but saying, do this, achieve that, get here, then you'll have one life. And what I find is that in the work that I do individually with people, oftentimes they get kind of trapped in their success, and they have gone after the goals that they thought they were supposed to. They have done the American dream or whatever that is in their culture. They have done what was expected of them and their family. And even having achieved so much and having reached goals in the past, they still don't feel like they've come alive. They still don't feel like, yeah, that was really worth it. That was really meaningful. And that's what my passion is with progress mapping, is to connect your goals to your purpose, and for there to be meaning and fulfillment. Because even if you don't hit whatever that benchmark is, or that particular finish line that you've created in your head, it will have been worth it. The process of making that progress will have been impactful. It will have been enjoyable. It will be something that becomes a part of you, that it's not something that you just do, that you start where you are, and you start by taking your next right step, and you create a practice that works for you, and you use the progress maps as a tool to track the progress that you're making, and all kinds of good stuff. But it's in the pursuit, it's in the adventure of making progress that you start to become the person that you want to be. And that, I think, is why nose running. I think that's why we do any of this at all. So that is progress mapping. It's about the bigger picture. It is about sustainable. It is about you. It is about what matters to you. And why this matters to me is because, again, I believe that humans can be lights. I believe that we are here on the planet to contribute. I believe that we're here to be more than afraid. that we're here to do more than just set goals and achieve them, that we're here to do more than what's expected of us, but that the great task of being a human being is to have the courage to be who it is that you really are and to take action coming from a place of love so that you can share that with other people. And that's that's the whole point. You know, I think we're designed for connection. We're designed to create. And so with progress mapping, that is my way of supporting you all as to the best of my ability, and creating a support for myself, frankly, as I go about on my own adventure. So I invite you to join me, of course. And one thing that I'd like to leave you, and in addition to, again, if you'd like the guide that accompanies this chat here, and you'd like to kind of take this a little bit further and start to try it on and see what progress mapping would look like in your own life, then please comment below and then I'll make sure that you get the guide. But if this appeals to you, if like, you know, in listening to this, you're like, yes, you're my people, this makes sense, I want to know more, then you can go to mapyourprogress.com, of course. You can look at the progress maps and the tools. You can take the quiz. And I just wanted to let you know that currently, this is not something that I'm going to be able to do forever, but for right now, I'm offering something special to new customers and progress mappers. And that is that if you purchase a progress map from mapyourprogress.com, then I will extend an invitation to work with you and provide you with some customized recommendations that can help you figure out, you know, what would be the most worthwhile goal for you to focus on right now, and you know how you can use your map, which map would be best fit for that, what the swirls could represent, and really help you take kind of this abstract information and this bigger picture overview that I've just given you and apply that to your life. So I would love to be able to do that with you and connect. It's been a great privilege and honor for me so far out of anything that I've ever done in my entire life to be here with you guys and support you. And I get inspired every day when I see those of you that have the courage to look at what it is that you really want and then show up and take action and change behaviors and do different things. This is not easy. It's totally not easy, but it can be easier and more enjoyable in the pursuit and in the process. So I've found some ways to really do that, not only for myself, but for many, many people across the globe. And it's my joy to share that with you. All right, my dears. I don't know that we have any questions, but thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your curiosity. And if you would like the guide that accompanies this, please leave your name in the comments. I will make sure to get that to you, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I will also have a link in the description of this video where you can click to get the guide straight away. All right. Thanks so much, dears. Be well, and I will see you next Friday. That will be January, what is math? The 13th? I believe that's the 13th. Yes, Friday, January 13th. It'll be 3 p.m. Pacific. And what we're going to be chatting about then is when to go for easy and when to go for hard. There's value in both. And so I'm going to help you see what that might look like in your life, and when easy is a really good thing and when hard is actually an even better thing. All right, dears. We will see you then. Okay, bye.